Joining us now, member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Democratic Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland. Good to have you on board this morning, sir.
Senator, let's start with the President's Supreme Court pick. What are your thoughts? What's the correct response for Democrats?
First, it's good to be with you. Clearly, the president is looking at a list prepared by an extreme group that has an agenda that really wants to just ratify the president's policies. I think what the American people need to be concerned about is that we're talking about changing the balance on the Supreme Court that's going to affect their rights, a women's right of choice, labor rights, worker rights, consumer rights. We need an independent Supreme Court that's going to protect your constitutional rights from the abuses of the president or Congress or corporate America, and that's on the line with this nominee.
David Ignatius is with us and has a question. David?
Senator, if I'm reading the stories right, you're one of the Democrats who's warning fellow Democrats to be careful about calling for the abolition of ICE. And I want to ask you whether you think this is a political mistake for the Democrats in this season to be pushing this issue so hard.
Well, we need an agency that will deal with our border policies on migration and commerce. What we don't want is the policy that Donald Trump has announced. We don't want to separate families at the border. We want to allow people at the border to be able to seek asylum. So the policy and the way it's being implemented by ICE today is not sustainable and needs to change.
But you wouldn't seek to abolish the agency.
We need an agency at the border that deals with migration and commerce. So I'm for an agency. I'm against the policies that are being implemented by this administration and the way that ICE is doing it.
Bob Costa?
Senator, Democrats are talking a lot about the way the court can move to the right on different social issues. But what about on economic and corporate issues? Are Democrats going to have an argument against the eventual nominee on that front?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about changing the balance, giving corporate America more power over consumers. We're talking about the rights of workers being compromised by the Supreme Court. We're talking about a Supreme Court that will not follow precedent, that has an agenda. The list that's been prepared for the president comes from a group that has an agenda. That's what's at stake here. It's more than just one issue. It's the whole direction of the court to follow what the president wants rather than what the American people need.
Kathy Kay.
Senator, it depends, of course, on who the nominee is, but how do you rate your chances of blocking this nomination?
Understand the nominee is going to be selected by a list that was prepared by the president by an extreme group. You're right. We need to see who it is, but we know the list, and the list has already been vetted for a particular objective. We want to make sure that we use every opportunity so the American people know exactly what's at stake. We know that Senator McConnell has been hypocritical in the time issues. 11 months was not enough time for President Obama's nominee to be considered before an election. Leader McConnell is going to try to get this done in just a few months. That's hypocritical. We'll use every tool we have at our disposal in order for the American people to know what's at stake.
Senator, let's end by, I'll ask you the same question I asked Congressman Cole. What are your thoughts on 4th of July? What do you take greatest pride in as an American?
I heard Congressman Cole, and I certainly agree with his assessment. This country, our strengths are our values. The fact that we are the leading democratic nation in the world, that we welcome those who have challenges, that are being oppressed. This country has stood as a beacon of hope for people all around the world. We are blessed to live here in America, and we should recognize our freedoms and make sure that we work to preserve them.
Senator Ben Cardin, thank you very much for joining us. And Bob Costa, thank you as well. Still ahead, we'll get a report from England after a couple was poisoned by the same Russian nerve agent used against a former spy earlier this year. Plus, the Washington Post's Ruth Marcus is here with a new column on the president's Supreme Court contenders. Morning Joe is coming right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.